Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Amaka. In this tutorial, we are going to be learning how to make a funnel corset. Now, if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I upload new videos. So let's get started. So I've drawn some lines already. Now this is my bust point, my under bust point, my waist point, the full length of the top, and my hemming allowance. Now this neck measurement that I'm drawing, I'm not going to use it. It's just going to serve as a guide. My neck width is 3 inches. My neck depth is 3 inches. And I'm going to connect the points. I'm going to take my shoulder measurement here. Half of my shoulder measurement is 7.5 inches plus half inch seam allowance. That gives you 8 inches. So I'm going to mark 8 inches here. Now from this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and I'll connect it to this point for my shoulder slant. Now I'm going to impute my armhole depth. Now to get your armhole depth, all you need to do is to divide your bust circumference by 6 and whatever it gives you, add 1.5 inches to it. And I'll connect the points and I'll extend this point. Now this is my chest point. On my chest point, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 4, which is 9.5 inches. Then I'll find the midpoint of this line. Now this is the midpoint of this line. From this midpoint, I'll come in by ½ inch and I'll connect the points, just like you see me doing. So I'm going to extend this line. This is my chest point. I'll extend this line and I'll label the lines. Now this is my chest point, my bust point, under bust point, waist point, full length of the top, and my hemming allowance. Now I'm going to impute my dart. For me to do that, I'm going to be working with my nipple to nipple measurement. Half of my nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches here and I'll mark 4 inches here. And I'll connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do is this. Now on this point, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of this line. So I'll mark 1 inch here and I'll mark 1 inch here. On the waist point, I'll mark 1 inch on both sides of this line and I'll do the same on the under bust point and I'll connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect this point to this point, just like you see me doing. And I'll connect this point to this point. So here, I'm going to find the midpoint of this line. Now this is the midpoint of this line and I'll connect this point to this point. Now from my chest point, I'm going to go up by 2 inches for my neckline. Now this is optional. You can decide to use 1.5 inches, you can decide to use 2 inches or 1 inch, depending on how revealing you want your top to be. And I'll connect this point to this point. Now you can actually use your free hand for this, but I'm using the curved part of my ruler. And I'll connect it back into the armhole. So I'm going to impute my dart. Now for me to do that, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of this line. So I'll mark 1 inch here and I'll mark 1 inch here. So I'll connect this point to this point and this point to this point. So now I'm going to take my horizontal measurement. Now on my chest point, I've already taken my bust measurement on my chest point. My bust circumference divided by 4 gives you 9.5 inches. And this dart intake I have here, I'm going to return it here. Now on the under bust point, I'm going to take my under bust measurement on my under bust point. My under bust circumference divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. Plus these 2 inches that I'm going to cut off, I'm going to return it here. On my waist point, I'm going to take my waist measurement on my waist point. My actual waist measurement is 32 inches. But because I want to snatch my waist by 2 inches, I'm going to deduct 2 inches from my actual waist measurement, which gives you 30 inches. Now 30 divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 7.5 inches here. Plus these 2 inches that I'm going to cut off, I'm going to return it here. Now on the full length of my top, I'm going to take my hip measurement on the full length of my top. My hip circumference divided by 4 gives you 10 inches. Plus the 2 inches that I'm going to cut off, I'm going to return it. And I'm going to take the same measurement on the hemming allowance. And I'll connect the points. Now for that conical effect, I'm going to be working with 1 inch because I don't want it to be too big. But this is optional. You can make yours 1.5 inches, you can use 2 inches depending on how big you want yours to be. So I'm going to connect the waist point to the hem, just like you see me doing. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to add my bust dart. Now the bust dart is a difference between the front waist point and the back waist point. Now my front waist point is 16 inches while the back waist point is 14.5 inches. So 16 inches minus 14.5 inches, that gives you 1.5 inches. So my bust dart is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches here and I'll connect it to the bust point, just like you see me doing. So now this is my dart. I'm going to cut it off. I'll cut it off. So this part is no longer useful to me. I'm also going to cut off this part. So to close this dart, I'm going to open this dart. So I'm going to blend this part. Now usually this part is usually shorter than this part. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to blend these 2 points together. I'll join these lines together and I'll blend it, so that when I cut it, one part will not be shorter than the other part. So I'm going to connect this point to this point, just like you see me doing. So this is the new line I'm going to work with. I'll be working with this line. So to close this dart, I'm going to open this dart. You don't have to cut it off. You don't have to cut off this part. Just open it. So this one, I'm going to fold in this one. I'll close it. So I'm just going to close it this way and I'll sellotape it. I'll use sellotape to hold it. So for this part, after closing it, in case it doesn't align, all you need to do is just to blend it. But mine aligned. I'm going to add my seam allowance. I'm working with 1 inch seam allowance. So for the funnel effect, now from this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and I'll connect this point to this point. So I'm going to do it with my curved ruler, but you can also use your free hand to do it, but I'm using my curved ruler. So this is for the funnel effect, for the part that will have a different fabric from the other part. So the next thing I'm going to do is to draw the style line. Now for me to do that, I'm going to close this dart, just like you see me doing. I'll fold in this dart, then I'll mark the style line. And I'll cut it. So now I'm going to join it together so that I'll cut the style line. So you see, if I join it together, this is what I have. So now this is a funnel part. I'm going to transfer this part to another paper. I'm going to use my tracing wheel to trace it on another paper. So now I've added another paper under my pattern paper and I'm tracing it. I'm tracing the lines. I'm tracing it out with my tracing wheel. After tracing it out, I'm going to cut it out. I'll follow the lines that I traced and cut it out. So take note, I started tracing it from the under bust point, the under bust line. That's where I started my tracing from. So after cutting it out, so this is what I have. So I'm going to keep this aside and I'll bring this one and I'll cut off the funnel part. So I'll cut off this part. So this part is no longer useful to me. So I'll keep it aside. I'm going to bring back this one and I'll put it under this one. Now see the formation. This is a formation. So when I finish sewing, I'm going to have something like this. So I'm going to transfer this to my fabric, but before we do that, we are going to draft the back panel. So I've drawn some lines already. Now this is my waist point and this is the full length of the top. Shoulder to waist point is 14.5 inches. Remember that I told you that the back waist point is shorter than the front waist point by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to start by taking my neck measurement. My neck width is 3 inches. Now the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7.5 inches plus half inch seam allowance. That gives you 8 inches. So I'm going to mark 8 inches here. From this point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant and I'll connect it to the neck width. Now the neck depth I'm working with is 1 inch and I'll connect the points. Now let me label these lines. This is my waist point, the full length of my top and my hemming allowance. I'm going to impute my armhole depth. Now my armhole depth is 8 inches. That is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches gives you 8 inches. So I'm going to connect these points. And I'll extend this point. So the next thing I'm going to do is to find the midpoint of this line. Now this is the midpoint of this line. On the chest point, I'm going to take my bust measurement on the chest point. My bust circumference divided by 4 gives you 9.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 9.5 inches here and I'll connect the points. So now I'm going to extend the chest point. I'll extend this line to this point. As you can see, the back panel doesn't have zipper allowance. So I'm going to be using eyelets for the back panel. So I'm going to cut off 2 inches from this back for the back opening. I'll mark 2 inches here and I'll mark 2 inches here and I'll connect the points. Now this is optional. You can actually use 1.5 inches. So to impute my dart, I'm going to be working with my nipple to nipple measurement. Half of my nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches here. I'll do the same thing on the waist point and on the hem. And I'll connect the points. So from here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Then on the waist point, I'll mark half inch on both sides of this line. While here, I'll go up by 1 inch. And I'll connect the points. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take my horizontal measurement. So from here, I've already taken my bust measurement on my chest point. So this is my chest point, my waist point, and the full length of the top and my hemming allowance. So I've taken my bust measurement on my chest point. So on the waist point, I'm working with 30 inches as my waist circumference. So 30 divided by 4 gives you 7.5 inches. Plus this 1 inch for that, I'm returning it. On the hem of my top, I'm going to be working with my hip measurement. My hip circumference divided by 4 gives you 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches here. So I'm going to connect the points. So for the conical effect, I'm going to use 1 inch for the conical effect and I'm going to connect it to the waist point. Now I'm going to add my seam allowance. I'm using 1 inch for my seam allowance. And I'll connect the points. So this part, I'm going to cut off this part. Now this part is no longer useful to me. So for the style lines, so I'm just going to connect this point to this point, just like you see me doing. And I'll cut it. So I'll label it. So this is 1 and this is 2. Center back, side back. So because I don't want these videos to be too long, we are going to stop here for now. Our next tutorial is going to be the sewing part of this top. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please click on the like button. Share this video with your friends. Share this video in your sewing groups. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. Feel free to ask questions. I'll be in the comment section to answer all your questions. We've come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.